In my many ramblings on old cars, a question I often get asked is about the significance of their number plates. In many countries these are changed on a regular basis, but here in Great Britain their registration is an integral part of a car's history and an easy identifier for both its age and usually the location of its sale. So today on TwinCam, this is everything you need to know about British number plates. But first, some ground rules. The United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland is a political union between 4 countries, and while Great Britain, i.e. England, Scotland and Wales, all use the same system, the Northern Irish system is different. So this video is about Great British registration plates rather than the UK as a whole. But with that caveat out of the way, I have 4 different examples to show you, which with some mild modifications can take us back to 1903. So with quite a bit of history to get to, let's start with the most relevant, the current system introduced in September 2001. Beginning with its most basic elements, and cars must display both a front and rear plate. Motorcycles only need a rear one for safety reasons, but regardless, the front plate is always white and the rear one is always yellow. While this is unusual compared to the rest of the world, it's designed to be unambiguous. Just by the colour of the quite large number plates, you can immediately tell whether you're facing the front or rear of any kind of vehicle. This tone is one that will continue throughout our discussion because British plates are designed and produced for an explicit purpose, and no concessions have ever been made for the sake of style. Further to this, the plates are reflective, meaning they can be read from great distances in the dark. But while all the plates I have with me are the same rectangular shape, you can also get square ones, either for motorcycles or for cars that require them. Additionally, the border may be any size you like, the key being the layout within. Now, although the design and legislation is very industrial, Britain is relatively liberal with its plates, and indeed there's no government body that provides them. Instead, as long as they meet the legislation, plates can be produced by anyone. According to the letter of the law, the producer must see a valid ID and the vehicle's V5, its registration document, to ensure whoever's buying the plates actually owns that car. In practice, however, that is often ignored and plate cloning can be an issue. Regardless, the standard to which it adheres must be displayed in the bottom right-hand corner. But with that out of the way, we can turn to their actual content, and since September 2001, they have always contained 5 letters with 2 numbers in the middle. Letter, letter, number, number, letter, letter, letter. They're also supposed to all be the same font. Charles Wright New, again, designed for visibility. But it's within this sequence that anyone can identify a car's origin, which is very helpful indeed when looking to buy. And again, for the sake of buyers, you can type any of these numbers into the government website and you can see a car's MOT history, our annual roadworthiness inspection. Back to the point, however, and the first 2 letters are an area code. Taking this plate from my BMW as our example, and the H indicates it was registered in Hampshire, Dorset or the Isle of Wight. The F then narrows that down to being somewhere near Bournemouth. This other plate, however, begins with M, indicating it's from Manchester, while in this case the V doesn't have any official significance. With a little bit of deduction, however, you can generally tell where a car was first registered. An L, for example, indicates London, while an S indicates Scotland. The 2 numbers in the middle of the plate are the most important though, as these indicate the age of the car, and due to the number of cars being registered, they change every 6 months, on the 1st of March and the 1st of September. My BMW shows 02, meaning it was registered between the March and August of 2002. Nice and easy. But because they need to change them every 6 months, an extra code is required for September 2002 to February 2003. For the purposes of that, they simply added 50 to the year. So after 02 is 52, then 03, 53, 04, 54, 05 and 55, like we see on this plate, telling us this Vauxhall Corsa was registered between September 2005 and February 2006. Of course, this continues through to today, so the middle of 2024 has the code 24, while as I record this in November 2024, a brand new car will roll out of the dealer displaying 74 as its code. As I mentioned, this began back in September 2001, the first cars of this system displaying 51 as their code. So at this rate, the current system will end in August 2051 as the numbers cycle back to 01. The final 3 letters are a simple serial code, unique to each and every car. But having now gone through the digits themselves, there are still 2 more elements we need to discuss, the more important of these being the clear difference between these 2 plates, the stripe down the side. This was introduced around the turn of the millennium and was an optional country indicator, allowing British cars to drive in the rest of the European Union without a separate GB sticker on their tailgate. Since Britain left the European Union, these of course are no longer issued, and because of their European flag, they're actually no longer acceptable as a form of identity. Britain has also since changed its identifier from GB to UK, but even if they hadn't done that, you still now need to display a separate sticker on your car's tailgate. However, if you're driving in a country that's a signatory of the Vienna Convention, then you could replace the EU stripe with a plain coloured one, the same colour as the basic white or yellow plate, displaying a Union flag within, UK down here, and you can drive overseas without a separate sticker. If only to make this more complicated, since 2020, vehicles capable of 0 tailpipe emissions have been able to carry a green stripe down this left-hand side. But as with the other identifiers, this is totally optional. The important bits for driving in Britain being the colour and the letters. As a final addendum, letters that are potentially ambiguous aren't generally used. There's no I or Q, for example. This all changes over the years, however, so it's not to be taken as gospel, and our final unique touch is the ability for a message to be displayed at the bottom of the plate. Usually this is a dealer tag, both these plates showing us used car dealers. But this older plate from the little Rover Metro sat behind me shows its original Rover dealer from back in 1991. And that very neatly brings us back to the old plate style, dating from 1983 to 2001. Just like the modern plates, these were always white and yellow, and allowed us to see the car's origin, but without the EU stripe down the side, there was more space to play with, so the font was wider than it is today, hence the new in Charles Wright New. This is Charles Wright Old. That being said, before 2001 there was no legislation mandating its use, so though most plates carried this font, many didn't. And looking at classic cars, you can usually tell if they've needed a new plate by the new, narrower font being used. Regardless, you'll notice that while these 2 plates carry the same format, they're a different length. And that's because the old system mandated a single letter, followed by either 1, 2 or 3 numbers, and then 3 more letters. This plate therefore could have been J9 BGP, or J99 BGP, or J997 BGP, as it is. This time, however, it's the numbers that are the serial code, plus the first letter in the final group, the B in this case. This time, the letter at the beginning of the plate is the year identifier, and prior to 1999, this only changed once every year, on the 1st of August, meaning there was a rush of new car purchases when the new plates were first issued. A little harder to read than the modern plates, they started in August 1983 with A. So the D seen here indicates this car was registered between August 1986 and July 1987. Similarly, the J tells us that the car behind me was registered between August 1991 and July 1992. This is why you'll often hear enthusiasts refer to their cars as being on a G, for example, telling you it's from late 1989 or early 1990. The area codes, however, are totally bonkers, many bearing no relation whatsoever to their region, but the 2 letters at the end of the plate perform that duty, MC telling us this car is from North East London, while GP stands for South West London. I don't know either, but that's how these older plates worked, and before 1983, they simply swapped it around, the dating letter and numbers appearing at the end rather than at the beginning. Hence why you'd hear me refer to this plate as a prefix D, while a car from 1966 would be a suffix D. That fact, however, brings us to the changeover date on the 1st of August every year. That only came in during 1967, because previous to that, it was the 1st of January, which makes sense on paper until you realise what this meant. Dealers having their busiest period of the year over Christmas. Naturally, potentially offensive combinations have always been banned, even if some slip through the net. But you'll have noticed that this car doesn't feature white and yellow reflective plates. The modern style was only introduced in 1967, so cars before this point had white on black plates, which was still permitted until the changeover ended in 1973. However, the government mucked it up about 10 years ago, and as they introduced a zero tax rate for cars over 40 years of age, they accidentally made the black plates thing a rolling concern, before they realised their mistake. By a quirk of law, therefore, it's perfectly legal to run black plates on a car up to 1980. And if you own a car built after 1973 and have installed black plates, then I hate you. The old system dates back to 1963, when suffix A plates were introduced and, as I mentioned, lasted through to 2001 on a prefix Y. But this wouldn't be Britain without just another dose of ridiculous, and that is the Q plate. If, for whatever reason, a car's history is in doubt, maybe it's salvage or it's been radically modified, then its original number can be removed and it can be issued with a prefix Q plate. Confusing because despite the general system having been dead since 2001, the Q plate lives on. Before 1963, however, they essentially ran the same system, reversing it when full, just with no date code on the end. And that brings us back to 1932, before which they ran without the extra letter, leaving us with 2 letters and up to 4 numbers, meaning this plate could theoretically have been MC68 or MC6868, and that finally brings us back to 1903. There are a raft of omissions and exceptions to the rules I've just been through, but that takes what initially appears to be a simple system and turns it into a bit of a head burner. So with that, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed the video, then please do click like and subscribe to TwinCam as well. I'm forever indebted to my wonderful Patreon supporters, so if you'd like to support me that way, then please do follow the link in the description. And I'll have more videos coming along soon.